This is the Shoulda Bet More podcast, presented by Goal Boys Network. Here's your host, Will Hill.
Welcome to the Shoulda Bet More podcast, presented by Goal Boys. Coming up on the show, Tommy Lorenzo of the Cover the Weekend podcast will join us. We'll break down the World Series. We'll get the Dodgers perspective. He is an LA guy, a sharp bettor, so excited to talk to Tommy, and I'm excited about this World Series. I'll get to that in a minute. Just quickly, the Thursday night football. I said a couple days ago I thought this was a tough spot for the Vikings, and I like the Rams. It was a tough spot. The Rams win the game. Ends up being 30-20, and if you had the over, under, whatever you had on the total, if it was at 48, boy, you got a break at the end because the Rams get a safety to push it 30-20. And how they missed this call, I have no idea. Now, look, Minnesota was down 8 on their own 5. The face mask would have pushed them to the 20. You still have to go 80 yards with a minute change, no timeouts, and get the 2 and win in overtime. So the Vikings were not winning this game. But how you missed that call with all the reviews they have in the NFL, with this replay assist they have, with everything that they, everything's under a microscope, and how you missed that is just completely embarrassing. But the Vikings were not good. They lose the offensive lineman Darisaw. He gets hurt as the Vikings are just trying to run out the clock. Vikings probably better off, kneeing or sneaking it, not running plays in that situation. But the Vikings just they're not that good defensively. You wonder how they got the record they got, and the first 4 or 5 weeks when they went undefeated, they were 5-0 heading into last week. You just wonder how they were that dominant, because there are all sorts of holes defensively. They don't get a lot of push up front. There are guys wide open running all over that secondary. I mean, Stafford, it was just pitch and catch all night with those receivers. Kupp and Nakua just could not cover anybody. So life changes fast in the NFL. Life comes at you quick, because just a few days ago, the Vikings are 5-0. They're beating Detroit, and they have the ball with a couple minutes left. And if they win that game, they're 2.5+ games up on everybody in the NFC, in the division, in the conference, you name it. They would have been undefeated. Everybody else would have had 2+ losses, and they would have had tiebreakers. Now you look up, they're 5-2, and they just don't look like a real contender. They'll still be a playoff team because they're going to bank enough wins with the head start, and with their schedule, they'll get to their 9-10 wins and make the playoffs. But the fact that the idea that this team's going to be like an NFC title team or a Super Bowl team, that is starting to look like it was far-fetched. So Rams win. They're back in the mix in the NFC West, which is wide open. Vikings, a tough night. I know that was a tough spot, but that was a bad look. Just they don't look very good defensively. They can move the ball, but just all sorts of holes defensively. You saw it Sunday against the Lions, and you saw it again Thursday night. But we are finally here. By the time you're listening to this, it is going to be day 1 of the World Series. We are finally here, and boy, these 4 days, they dragged, because like I was saying the other day, you get used to watching the baseball day in, day out. It's a day in, day out sport, throughout the season, throughout the summer, throughout the postseason. Just one day leads to the next. So to have 4 days off feels like an eternity. 5 days off if you're a Yankee fan. Yankees haven't played since last Saturday. So Yankees almost getting a full week off here. But I'll go back to what I said, and that is, I just, as excited as I am for this series, from a Yankees perspective, I don't think they're going to win. I just think there's too many holes in the pitching staff. There's just not enough arms to fill the innings with quality pitching. When you're only getting 4, 5, 6 at the most innings from your starter, and you don't have Cole at the top of his game, which he has not been. He was the Cy Young winner last year. He has not been that this year. He was hurt to start the year. He's just never gotten back on track. He hasn't thrown as hard. He's been good in spots. He hasn't been great. He kind of gets by with, his breaking stuff, and he can locate, and he's smart, and he knows how to pitch, but he has not been the dominant Cole. If you're not getting that version, Rodon can be good, but you don't really trust him. Schmidt, look, he's a 4 or 5 inning guy. Heal's a 4 or 5 inning guy. And if you're going to throw these 4 or 5 inning guys, are you really going to get lights out performances with this bullpen against this Dodger lineup? I think that's hard to, I think that's a stretch. I think it's hard to predict here. And we'll see what we get from the Yankee offense. This is the Yankee offense that, look, they exploded against Cleveland in some spots where, look, you got a lot out of Stanton. You got Soto. You got Torres performed well. You didn't get a ton out of, the Volpes, Rizzos, Verdugos, the bottom of the lineup, Wells, but you got just enough where, hey, you got something out of them. And if you're going to get the production from the top, the stars, all you need is a little something, which is what they got. So, can Judge have a monster breakout playoff where he's had a couple home runs against Cleveland, but can he have that, 5 homers in 4 games type of performance? I think you're going to need that from Judge. You're going to need Cole to be the 6, 7 innings, 1 run Cole. I think you're going to need those top tier guys to play up to their potential, because I think the Dodgers just have a better, deeper roster. Now, look, I don't think the Dodgers are going to sweep them or anything. I'm picking Dodgers in 7. As a Yankee fan, I hope I'm wrong, but I just think the Yankees. I mean, look, we talked about all summer that how this team has holes, and I don't know that beating Kansas City and beating Cleveland makes those things just completely go away here. Now, getting Cortez back, if he can give him some innings here and there and be productive, that helps. But I do ultimately think it's going to be the Dodgers. And man, just trying to think back in terms of like most anticipated World Series. First of all, this is the first time in World Series history you have 5 MVPs in the World Series. We've had 4 MVPs in a World Series. I think the last time was 1981. So even that's been a while. We're going to have both MVPs of each league in the World Series for the first time since 2012, because Ohtani's going to win in the National League. Judge is going to win it in the American League. So that's something we haven't had in over a decade. You got the 2 best records in baseball with the Yankees and the Dodgers. You've got, obviously, there's the history, the tradition. This is their 12th time meeting in the World Series. It's just so much here that you love. And I can't think of a World Series in my lifetime that's been this anticipated. Now, there's been World Series that ended up being classics. Yankees Diamondbacks in 2001, that went 7. Yankees going for the 4-peat, losing in the bottom of the 9th with Rivera. That was a great World Series, but I don't know if it wasn't as anticipated as this one. The Dodgers Astros played a great World Series. I guess the Cubs and the Guardians, because of the Cubs, breaking their streak, breaking their drought, that was anticipated. But was it as anticipated as this? Probably not. Red Sox Cardinals for the same sort of thing in 2004, where the Red Sox hadn't won in 80 something years. That's on the short list. But again, when Yankees, Dodgers, Betts, Ohtani, Judge, Soto, Stanton, it's just it's an embarrassment of riches, just in terms of storylines, in terms of superstars. There's so much talent on both sides, so much tradition, so much history on both sides. This is just a dream World Series. I'm sure it's going to do an absolute monster rating here. Now, I don't think the layoff helps. The fact that there's 4 days, I don't. Sometimes you think, hey man, it's out of sight, out of mind after you haven't been playing for this long. But maybe you can make the case that it gives some buildup, creates the tension, creates the drama of people counting down and looking forward to this series. So I'm excited for it. I'm ultimately going to pick Dodgers in 7. Like I said, I wouldn't be shocked if the Yankees won. Yankees have played pretty well here. I mean, even though it's against lesser competition, they are still, 6-2 in the playoffs. They beat Cleveland 4-1, and they beat Kansas City 2-1. So, 6-2 in the playoffs. It hasn't felt that easy because there were tense moments against Kansas City, 1-1 series. Game 3 was close. Game 4 was close. Both those games pretty much could have gone either way. Against Cleveland, you're up 2-1 in Game 4, could have gone either way, and you were losing in Game 5. So it hasn't felt as, they won this one, and they won the Kansas City series 3-1, and they won the Cleveland series 4-1. It hasn't felt as easy as it sounds when you put it that way, but it has been an impressive performance from the Yankees for a number of reasons, especially the dominance from Stanton, the Soto at bats, and some of the contributions from the other guys. So excited for it. It's going to be Cole versus Flaherty. Yankees a slight underdog. Dodgers like -120, -125, depending on where you look, and around that same price for the series. So Dodgers a slight favorite. Dodgers are a slight favorite. I mean, it's basically they're telling you these teams are dead even, and that the price difference here is just home field advantage. Because if the Yankees were Yankees at home field in Game 1 and for the series, the Yankees would probably be slight favorites. That's the only difference in this number. And I don't know. I don't know that that's properly priced. I do think the Dodgers. I mean, you don't make home field in baseball what you do in basketball and football, clearly, but I do think the Dodgers are a tick better, and you give them something for home field. So I do think this line should probably be a little higher. But again, you're never going to make the Yankees like a plus 120, 130, 140 underdog. You're just not going to hang that big of a plus number in front of the Yankees. That's just not how these books operate. They know the Yankees are a public team, and people are going to bet the Yankees, especially when they can get a plus price. So I'm excited for it. We'll talk to Tommy Lorenzo, get his perspective. He is an LA guy, so excited to talk to him. That is next. This is a Shoulda Bet More podcast. All right, we are back. Shoulda Bet More podcast. Cover the Weekend is the name of the podcast. He is the host. He is Tommy Lorenzo, first-time guest. Excited to have him on. Tommy, what's up, man? Exciting time of the year. How's everything?
Everything's great. Even better that the Dodgers are in the World Series. So I'm excited. College football, NFL, and this extra treat of having the Dodgers in the World Series this time of year is pretty cool.
I am a Yankees guy, so my audience gets to hear me blabber all year about the Yankees. So it's good to have a Dodgers perspective. And I'll leave the floor open to you. Game 1 is about Dodgers minus 125, series around Dodgers minus 125, minus 130. What are your general thoughts here on this series and game 1?
Well, I mean, the series in general, this is flip a coin to me. This is going to be a very good World Series. Plus, you got some weaknesses and strengths on both sides. It's just a matter of who's going to step up and be clutch over the 7 games if it goes that far. As far as game 1 goes, I've been really focusing on that, and I think there's going to be run scorers. I think there's a lot of questions with Garrett Cole and Flaherty as the starters, and I think the bats continue to roll for both teams. I think a lot of runs will be scored. These pitching staffs, as well as the bullpens, they've been doing great, man, but they're taxed. I mean, it's at a point now where that they've been going full effort in both of their series. I think the Yankees maybe had a little bit of an easier time of it with their matchup, but regardless, it's still playoff baseball, and I think the pitchers are going to be a little taxed going into here, and I give the hitters an advantage for sure.
So it sounds like you're leaning over in game 1.
I am. I'm looking over 4.5 first 5 innings and over 8.5 for the game. Like I said, I think for Garrett Cole, this is a class jump for him. Not knocking the Guardians or Royals at all, but what the Dodgers bring to the lineup is a much different animal than those teams. Not only that, but getting on base, stealing bases, and Garrett Cole is not the Garrett Cole of old, but he's still been solid. He knows how to pitch. But when guys get on and guys are moving around, his numbers kind of inflate a little bit. And I think that's going to be key for the Dodgers. If they can continue to work the count, get on base, start stealing bases, that's going to be big. But there's a lot of questions with Flaherty too. The Yankees hitters are hitting over 300 against them. The sample size isn't very big. It's about 60 at bats. But I think the Yankees will hit him as well. So it's just a matter of, I think, midway through the game, whatever bullpen is ready to kind of assert themselves, and who actually just gets more runs, which is, obvious, stating the obvious, of course. But I think the hitters are going to really dictate what happens in game 1, at least.
Yeah, it's interesting because if you remember right around the deadline, it was rumored that the Yankees were pretty close to acquiring Flaherty, and then last second he goes to the Dodgers. So that's kind of a swinging doors moment. Or if he was on the Yankees, man, with all the Dodgers pitching injuries, you wonder if they have enough pitching to be here. And yeah, you mentioned it. Flaherty was great in game 1 against the Mets, bad in his second start. And Cole, look, he guts through these starts, but he was hurt to start the year, and he won the Cy Young last year. He's just never gotten back to being Garrett Cole. I don't know if he's 100%. He just, you see him 95, 96. You don't see him, up flirting with triple digits where his stuff is A+. He's been okay at times. He's been good at times. He just hasn't been great.
Yeah, I think it's funny because I think Walker Buehler is kind of in that same track. Buehler came back, wasn't the same after coming back from injury, but now you're starting to see flashes that he may be there. And again, I think Garrett Cole just knows how to pitch. It reminds me of Shane Bieber. Got hurt, came back, got hurt again. But when Shane Bieber came back, he didn't have the same velocity, but he knew how to pitch, and he can, he was able to get outs. But I'm a little worried as a Dodger fan about Flaherty. Apparently he was under the weather in his last start, so we'll see how it goes here. But flat out, Yankee hitters can hit, and there's a particular guy I'm a little worried about in terms of as a Dodger fan.
Would that be Judge? Would that be who hasn't gotten on track yet? Soto has the best at bats. Stanton can get nuclear like nobody else does. Which one of the three, or is it somebody else?
It's somebody else. I think it's Rizzo, man.
Wow.
Anthony Rizzo's been clutch all his career in the playoffs. 6 for 13, 6 for 14, hit over 400. He's got that finger issue, but he's locked in. He's seeing the ball really well, and he's facing righties. He's going to get Yamamoto. He's going to get Flaherty. He's going to get Buehler. 100-1 MVP, World Series MVP. I'll throw a few bucks at him and see what happens. Of course, you figure Soto, Judge, even Stanton, the way he's hitting right now. Those guys obviously are the morning line favorites if it was a horse race. But I think if you're looking for a long shot, I don't think it'd be a bad move. I saw Rizzo up at 100-1 at a couple spots, and I think it's definitely worth it. I just don't know if the power's there with his injury, but he's seeing the ball and he's hitting. So
Yeah, no, he's hit the ball well here, better than I expected. But like you said, he's not really driving the ball, and in order to win this award, you figure you probably have to drive a few out of the ballpark. It's hard to win this award with singles. Anybody else in terms of MVP interest you, and a long shot sleeper, anyone you think has value?
Yeah, I mean, you obviously. I mean, what I do is look at double digit guys. I mean, anyone could put money on Otani at plus 200 or Judge at plus 400, but Max Muncy, he's got an OPS over 1,000 in the playoffs, seeing the ball well. And when he gets hot and the power comes, if he gets off to a good start in the first couple of games at Dodger Stadium, and he gets to Yankee Stadium, I think his hitting style is picture perfect for Yankee Stadium. One thing interesting with Muncy is that he doesn't have an at bat at Yankee Stadium. He's been hurt and he's just missed playing there. So it's kind of a mystery, in terms of, there's no history on him, how he's hit there, how he sees the ball there. But in terms of his batting style, if he gets behind a few of them, he can be dangerous. Best price I saw on him is 16-1. There's a lot of 10-1s out there. I think BetMGM and FanDuel had him at 16-1. So looking at double digit guys, Muncy's another guy I would look at.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of when the Dodgers came to Yankees. Obviously, they came there earlier this season. Dodgers won 2 out of 3. They won the first 2, lost the third. That was without Soto. I remember it was the year Rio was really good. So that was maybe 2019, but they played in LA. 2020, nobody played outside of like the AL East versus the NL East. So I'm trying to think of the last time the Dodgers came to Yankee Stadium other than this year. So yeah, that's an interesting nugget about Muncy.
Yeah, he had the oblique injury and missed the games in New York this year. But the thing with Muncy, and I've been obviously as a Dodger fan watching him, if he gets hot, it just comes in bunches. He just hammers the ball. So at 16-1, I don't think it's the worst stab in the world.
Who are you leaning towards winning the series and how many games?
Well, here's the thing. I'll take my Dodger cap off. And I think the Dodgers have gone through the gauntlet. They've beaten the Padres. They've beaten the Mets. I don't think the Yankees have been necessarily challenged. Again, I'm not knocking the Royals and Guardians, especially the Guardians. They're a scrappy team and tough. Everyone's on the Yankees, Will. Everyone's on the Yankees. And I don't know, it's because they're getting plus money on them to win the series. Maybe that's what has everyone leaning to them, and I can understand that. I think this is going to go 7 games. And I think coming back to LA and the home field advantage may be enough. But again, I just need to see what these bullpens are completely taxed. So it's just a battle of attrition, really, is what it's going to be. If you're going to pin me down, it's hard not to be biased. But I do think I do lean the Dodgers. If you gave me some money and say bet them, I would lean Dodgers pretty hard. But a lot of people that know their stuff think the Yankees are going to get it done. So, but this is what it's all about. This is the kind of series you want. 2 really good teams, good hitters, great stories. And you ask a bunch of people and, you get different opinions on it. And no offense to any Rangers fans or D-backs fans compared to last year. This is a different ball game, pardon the pun. So it should be a lot of fun.
That's a good question. This is the most anticipated World Series since when? Fill in the blank.
Holy cow. Maybe
5 MVPs. The 12th time they're playing in the World Series. New York versus LA. The uniforms, the ballpark. I mean, this is probably the most anticipated one. I'm 39. It's probably the most anticipated one of my lifetime. I don't know.
I think one. Yeah, when you say anticipated, of course, there's been World Series that have emerged to be great series. Maybe the Subway Series for the East Coast folks, some time ago. But for me, as a Dodger fan, we had the COVID year, and there's been some other good matchups. I remember vividly 1981, very vividly, as a kid and growing up in LA. And a lot of people, not that, you became an Angels fan if you lived in Southern California, but with Fernando and, the run in the late 70s and that World Series in 81 with Lasorda and everything else, it really became LA's team, really. You had the Lakers, you had other stuff going, but the Dodgers have always been there. So, and for it to be against the Yankees is just unbelievable. It's awesome.
If you're leading Dodgers in 7, my pick was Dodgers in 7 too. I just think the Yankees, you don't get enough length out of the rotation. You don't get enough out of the starters, and there's just not enough quantity arms to piece together 27 outs. And again, it's like you said, it's one thing to do it against the Royals and the Guardians and these AL Central teams, which I think these AL Central teams got puffed up by beating the White Sox all year. Boy, Dodgers are a different animal, and to run to the bullpen in the 4th, 5th, 6th inning every night. This isn't the Yankees bullpens of old. I mean, you hold your breath with Clay Holmes, you hold your breath with the Caneleys, and Tim Hill's been pretty good, but Is he going to get Ohtani out in big spots? I struggle to see that over a 7-game series.
Yeah, and that's what's fascinating about it. And I agree with you on that. The only thing that worries me as a Dodger fan and watching them is that this bullpen has been taxed. The Dodger bullpen has had to step up time and time again towards the end of the season and in these series against tough batters, tough series, because the Mets didn't lay down. I mean, the Mets were hitting and scrapping. So, yeah, I think the bullpen edge goes to the Dodgers. But my worry is where the fuel level is on that bullpen. We'll see. It's just going to be a great series.
Any last thoughts on it before I get your football picks for the weekend?
No, just I like the over in game 1. No Santa Ana winds coming in. It's like the song Santa Ana coming in from the north, and that's exactly what happens in Dodger Stadium. The weather's really nice in SoCal right now. You're looking at upper 70s and sun. So no wind. There's some humidity in the forecast. So I think the ball's going to move in Dodger Stadium, and I like over in the first 5 innings and also for the game in game 1.
What are the ticket prices like for those games in LA?
I took a look, and I want to keep one of my kidneys, or both of my kidneys, I should say. So I'm not going to the game. Last I saw was about $1,300 a ticket for standing room.
Wow, it's about the same for Yankee Stadium. I started to look when they were in the ALCS. I started to look, and I knew they'd be expensive, and Yankees haven't been there in a while. But same sort of thing where the cheapest one, standing room only, is $1,200-$1,300. Where it just, look, everyone's got their price or whatever, but it becomes a point where it's hard to justify, especially if you're bringing kids or family members or whatever. Boy, it becomes hard to justify.
It really is. Hey, another option. I know you're a little further, but I can always go to Vegas and put that money down on whatever team I want. Watch it at the sportsbook. Not as fun as being at the ballpark, but that's always an option too, because that's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. Plus, you can stay home, have a nice meal, and just enjoy the game. In that way, it's still the World Series. You're still taking it in. Football. What do you like this weekend? College, NFL. Take it whatever direction you want.
Yeah, college football. Some good games here. A little chalky on a couple of these. I like Notre Dame facing Navy. 12.5 is where the line was. I got it at 12.5. I didn't think this line would keep moving because Navy's getting a lot of money bet on them, but the line at some places have already moved to -14. So I'm glad I got it at -12.5. But right now, I'd still take it up to -14. You got Navy, who's tip of the cap to them. They've been playing great. They've been beating whoever they put in front of them. But those are teams like UAB, Temple, Charlotte, Bucknell, and yet they're still 71st in the nation defensively and 81st in rushing defense. I think Notre Dame's going to run the ball all day on Navy. The horses just aren't there. And I think Navy will give a good effort, but as the game goes on, I think Notre Dame pulls away. Notre Dame, too, has a really good defense. Nothing what Navy has seen at all this season. So I do think that Notre Dame should cover this pretty easily.
Anything else NFL college-wise, or just Notre Dame?
College, real quick. Yeah, I like Nebraska. I think it's too many points over the last few games. Ohio State coming off a bye. The last few games, 1-2 against the spread, coming off a bye week. I have Ohio State by 18 or 20. I still think Nebraska has a good rush defense. That's what Ohio State does well. If they can kind of neutralize that, they're not going to totally shut them down, but enough where I think this doesn't get completely out of control like it did in Indiana. 25.5 is a little too much. As far as NFL, I like the Colts. I like their offense. I think they're going to hang with Houston. +5 is a little too much. I have Houston by 3, so I'll take the couple of points with the Colts, and I like them to give Houston a game. I don't know if they'll get the win, but I think that game's going to be very close.
People in LA excited about the Lakers, or are they just sort of worn out by the fact that, hey, they're relevant with LeBron and with Davis, but they're not really a contender anymore?
Yeah, I think bullseye. I think everyone always likes the Lakers. People want to be at the arena watching them and all that. But I don't think there's that anticipation for a championship run or anything like that. It's LeBron, it's Bronny, it's going to crypto.com, whatever it's called now. It's not Stables anymore. The team still has
the forum to me. I still call it the forum.
The forum, yeah. That's where a lot of memories of the forum. I was able to watch the Lakers there a lot back in the day. But, they're still relevant in town. But honestly, right now, the Dodgers, they rule, man. In L.A., everyone, I was at funny story. I was at Costco the other day, and there was a guy wearing a Yankees hat. ooh, he heard it. And I live just outside of LA, so I don't live right deep in LA anymore. I grew up there. But ooh, man, people were letting him have it, which is kind of cool. Yeah, I mean, it was fun ribbing. There wasn't any, bad stuff going on. But that's kind of the environment now. The Dodgers really rule things in terms of the sports market here in LA.
If the Dodgers do lose this series, will the LA fan, will the Dodger fan, want Roberts gone? Will they want changes, or will they just say, you know what, we made it to the World Series, haven't been there in a while, good year, can't really blame anybody, we'll just get him next year?
Yeah, I think the Roberts must go narrative has really quieted down. I think them getting to the World Series, the patchwork starting pitching and everything that's happened. I think it's just the opposite now. I think he's getting a lot of credit and people have laid off. I think if the Yankees beat him, I don't think there's going to be a lot of people wanting Roberts gone or anything like that. I think he's definitely done enough. Personally, I think he has, and I think people have been a little critical of him. But the job he's done now with all the injuries and everything else, I'm good. Yeah, and be careful what you ask for. Who's going to roll into town, and who knows what will happen then. So I'm cool with Dave Roberts, and I think most folks in town, for the time being, are, because there was a lot of chatter about hey, we're not winning World Series with these players. He's got to go.
Yeah, it would have been tough if they lost to the Padres in the first round, which, look, they're down 2-1, throwing a bullpen game in San Diego. I think most people thought they were going home. I thought they were going home. To lose again in the first round after they lost to the Diamondbacks last year, the Padres year before that, it would have been a little bit cruel to be like, man, this team can't get out of the first round all of a sudden. But the fact that they're in the World Series, I think, look, worst case, you know what, you still had a hell of a run, and you can't really go too crazy.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. If that Padres series would have gone south, yeah, I think it's very possible there would have been a change and people would have wanted it. But they got through it, and actually, I think he's done a good job with the hand he's been dealt. I mean, hand he's been dealt. Look at that lineup he's got, but he still has to manage and work the bullpen, and he's done a good job. So, right now, getting to the World Series against the Yankees, winning is obviously the goal. Falling short would suck, but certainly nothing to be too sad about, given what's happened to the Dodgers the last few years. Petering out early in the playoffs.
Yeah, and the media seems to like him. Seems to be good with the players. He's good at dealing with the superstars. So there's a lot to like about Roberts, I think.
I think he's a good coach for that team. And again, especially the way MLB is now. Once you get in the playoffs with injuries and just it used to not be the hot team.
Yeah,
it used to always be the NFL. But over the years, it's been the team that gets hot, avoids injuries. They got good pitchers coming back. They've made their runs. So this one, it's kind of been true to form. The two best teams got there. And again, man, I have memories from 81, and to have, everyone has always talked, wow, wouldn't it be great to, at least in LA, and I'm sure in New York, great to see the Dodgers and Yankees go at it again. And here we are. It's finally happened. As I love football. I'm a big college hoops guy, but baseball has been the thing since I was little, and so have the Dodgers. So, to see this in my lifetime again, because you don't know, is just fantastic. And I'm really happy that, and I hope there's more, but with baseball, you never know. Look how long it's taken. 81. It's taken decades for these two, these two teams to cross paths again. So,
Tommy, it'll be a lot of fun. Enjoy it, man. I can't wait for these games to get started. This has been a long 4 days without baseball. You go from having it every night. It's like a TV show. I made this point the other day on the podcast. It's like a TV show where you just can't wait to watch the next episodes. To have, 4 days without this in the postseason, we're used to having it every night. It's been kind of cruel. It's been kind of just tough to get used to not having it. It feels like the season ended and now we're starting another one. It's just been such a long layoff, but it should be a lot of fun. I appreciate you coming on, man. Let everyone know where they could find your stuff.
Sure. On Twitter, @SportsbookTom is where I'm at. And the podcast comes out weekly, Cover the Weekend.
Appreciate it, man. Thanks for the time. Hopefully we'll do it again soon.
My pleasure, Will. It was a lot of fun, and thanks for having me on.
All right, that'll do it. Thank you to Tommy Lorenzo. Enjoy the game. Enjoy the World Series. Should be a great sports weekend. We'll be back Monday to break it all down. Rate, review, subscribe. See you then.